Hello and welcome to GameSack. This week we're going to take a look at rail shooters. Now, just what is a rail shooter, Dave?
Well, Joe, by my definition, a rail shooter is a shooter that's on rails. Anyways, actually a rail shooter is a game that guides your direction. You really don't have any, saying where you're going, but you just go there.
So basically any shooter would be a rail shooter then, right?
Well, not really, but anyways, rail shooters, typically, they go and you switch directions abruptly, and the view of your ship is, it's typically behind it.
So. Okay, so what rail shooter do you have for us to look at first?
Well, of course, thanks for that, Joe. And I am going to start off with, of course, a Nintendo game, and that's Starfox.
Ooh, let's take a look.
Starfox is Nintendo's first attempt at a 3D game. Starfox uses the Super FX chip to help push all those amazing polygons around the screen.
Wow.
Now, I know everyone watching has played Starfox, so I'm not going to go into the story. Considering this game is running on the SNES and developed mainly by Nintendo with the help of Argonaut, I don't think it could have turned out any better.
I do.
You would say that. Yeah, the game hasn't aged well at all. It doesn't look great. Everything has low polygon count and is single shaded. The backgrounds look okay, but the enemies and such sure had some ugly colors. The game moves at a jerky pace too.
The graphics aren't anything that the 32X couldn't wipe the floor with, but I guess they get the job done.
Yeah, they do, I suppose. The main factor here is that it's fun to play despite its limitations. The levels are all well designed and you get a nifty boss battle at the end of each.
The game is definitely fun to play and I like the music.
Yeah, the music is good for the game and has a few memorable tunes. The game can easily be beaten in under an hour. Star Fox 64, the sequel to Star Fox.
Are you serious? It's the sequel to Star Fox? No way.
Well, I know it doesn't say sequel in the title, but it is. Actually, this game borrows some levels and bosses from the original game. Thanks to technology, this game is better in every way than the original. It's got pretty graphics and you can actually make out what the enemies and surroundings look like. Enemy ships actually look like enemy ships. Same goes for buildings and everything else. There's a lot of chit-chat going on between Star Fox and his team. Some people might find this annoying, but I liked it. Some new vehicles have been added to the game as well. A submarine, which I'm not going to show you sadly, and a tank. These vehicles work okay, but overall the most fun is controlling the R-Wing. This is definitely a great sequel. A remake of Star Fox 64 was made for the 3DS. It's fun, but I find that the 3DS makes it difficult to play as my hand cramps up with a lot of button mashing.
I remember that before this game came out in the US, I downloaded the Japanese version of the ROM and burned it to a CDR to run on my Dr. V64 so I could play it. You came running down to my house to see it in action. Do you remember that, Dave?
I sure do, Joe. It was just what the doctor ordered, you filthy pirate.
Well, come on, it's the N64, so that means pirating games for it is okay.
I've got you now!
Shoot! He's right behind me!
Star Fox is pretty cool, Dave. Sorry about your cramped hand, though.
Yeah, it's all right, man. I'll get over it. So Sega has to have a real shooter or two out there. Do you have one that you'd like to share?
Sure do. Let's take a look at Panzer Dragoon.
I like that one. Good choice.
I bought the Sega Saturn at the surprise launch on May 11th, 1995 after Dave here called me saying that he saw it available in the stores on his lunch break.
Yeah, I walked in the store and I almost choked on my egg roll that I was eating for lunch.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Dave. One of the games I bought on that day was the original Panzer Dragoon.
I love those chance purchases that you don't know if the game will be good or not. This was a good one.
Yeah, it was. This game was basically the epitome of the rail shooter. You fly forward, but you can't control exactly where you go. However, you can look around at 360 degrees at any time using the shoulder buttons. You use the crosshairs to target enemies and release a powerful shot. This was very effective in fighting the larger enemies and bosses. You also have a regular shot which your rider fires, which does not need to be locked on for the smaller enemies. The graphics haven't aged particularly well, but I still like the design of your dragon as well as the enemy bosses in the game.
It really hasn't. And how about that FMV?
Oh yeah, that stuff looks real good. One of the first things people notice about this game is the orchestral music featured in the title screen and the first level. The rest of the music isn't orchestral, but it is still awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome, it's great, and it has this weird 70s flair to it.
The opening cutscenes are really cool as well, though they look horrible. But it's the music that really helps this to be one of the better cutscenes from that generation. Overall, a cool game and a worthy addition to any Saturn collection. Panzer Dragoon Z expands on the first game in a few ways. Firstly, your dragon evolves from an itty-bitty baby dragon.
Oh, how cute!
To a full-size adult dragon.
Oh, that's manly.
Shut up, I'm trying to talk. Secondly, the game has branching paths, and this can have an effect on how your dragon evolves. This definitely adds to the replayability. Thirdly, this game has a 16:9 widescreen mode, even though widescreen TVs were extremely uncommon back then. That's Sega for you, always ahead of the rest.
Yep, Sega is always willing to take a chance on the future.
That they are. The graphics here have been improved slightly compared to the original game, but the music is now generated by the system. As a game, it is definitely more involving than the first game, and I feel it's a fantastic follow-up.
Yes, this game feels very, very complete. Thumbs up, Sega.
Several years after that, Sega released Panzer Dragoon Orta for the original Xbox. This game returned to their rail shooter style of play that the first two Panzer Dragoon games were known for. You can switch between different dragons on the fly as well. The graphics were a tremendous leap ahead of the Saturn games, and the audio was in full 5.1 Dolby Digital.
Wow, Sega really did take advantage of the audio and graphics power of the Xbox back then.
The game itself is also great fun. The story is rather nonsensical, but that's part of the charm, I suppose. The music sounds kind of similar to Panzer Dragoon Z, but a bit more polished here. The game also supports 16:9 widescreen and 480p on the original Xbox, though there are some Xbox systems that, for whatever reason, can't run this game in 480p. Anyway, be sure that this game is in your OG Xbox collection.
You know, Joe, that Panzer Dragoon is an awesome series, and it actually puts me in the mood to talk about another rail shooter that Sega makes.
Which one's that?
Well, it's a game that makes you want to trip acid and suck on a pacifier. It's called Rez.
Oh, snap.
Rez is a fun rail shooter from Sega, believe it or not. It was released in Japan and Europe on the Dreamcast, but was only released on the PS2 in the US. The team that made this game, UGA, has some experience in making rail shooters. You see, some of its members helped create the Panzer Dragoon series, so you know it's going to be done right.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like Panzer Dragoon to me.
The object of Rez is to hack into a computer super network and keep it from shutting itself down. Along the way, you will be fighting all sorts of viruses and firewalls. It's an interesting idea. The game, for some reason, reminds me a lot of Tron. Why, I don't know, but it just does. As you are flying through the stages, you can lock onto up to 8 enemies and fire homing shots at them. Each level is divided into layers of the network, and at the last layer of each level is a boss fight. Ooh, are you scared? The real attraction to the game is the music and how it interacts with the player. At the start of each level, you have a basic electronic track. All of your attacks add to the music. Enemies don't make an explosion sound, and your homing shots don't make a shot sound. They all make a musical beat sound which goes in time with the basic music. As you get to each layer, the music gets more richer and developed, and the final boss fight of each level sounds like you're at your favorite techno club. This game is best played with a nice, loud, hi-fi audio system.
The PlayStation 2 version could also make use of the trance vibrator so you could please your girlfriend as you played to the beats.
What, Joe, do you think that's why my girlfriend always wanted me to play this game?
There was also a downloadable version of the game called Rez HD released for the Xbox 360. It's the same basic game, just now in HD. It does look much sharper, though everything is still only drawn in vector graphics. A very worthy download.
So, Joe, what are some other interesting rail shooters out there?
You know, I have no idea, but we can take a look at Sylpheed.
Ew, that sounds nasty, like an STD or something.
Still Feed for the Sega CD may look like a regular vertically scrolling shooter at first glance, but I'm pretty sure it qualifies as a rail shooter. Like many Sega CD games, the background is 100% streaming full motion video. That's right, those aren't real polygons being processed by the system. The gameplay itself is rather mundane in my opinion, but the backgrounds can be neat to watch, and Game Arts did a good job of tricking people into thinking that they were real polygons.
Yeah, what was also weird is I always felt that I was playing on a tilted screen. The screen has a curvature or something really strange about it.
You're playing at an angle, moron. Anyway, the music isn't bad, but it's not something I would crave to listen to. The radio chatter is funny, complete with lots of cussing.
Goddamn sightseers! Time to go back to hell! God damn it, it's a trap! Shit! They got the carrier! Hey men, take them from the rear! Yeehaw! I got a big one!
Overall, not a bad game for your Sega CD, but something that was definitely overhyped back in the day.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they called it the Starfox killer. I'm sure it was the other way around.
They also released Sylpheed, the Lost Planet on the PS2, and it reminds me more of Raystorm than a rail shooter since it's full of real polygons, but it counts I suppose. The gameplay was much more boring and slow, and to be honest, I turned it off at the end of level 2 due to sheer boredom. Alright Dave, we've got time to show one more rail shooter. Which one is it gonna be?
Well, Joe, it's going to be one that gets a lot of praise, and rightly so. Nintendo fans out there will know what I'm talking about here. It's called Sin and Punishment.
Ooh.
Sin and Punishment on the Nintendo 64. A game made by Treasure, a company that everybody loves, and that is a fact. Being a game by Treasure, you know it will have some unique characteristics. It will not be an easy game. It will have tons of constant action. Bosses will take a bazillion hits, and the music will be kick-ass. The game is tough but not impossible. The action only slows down for cutscenes. All bosses have life bars with thousands of hit points reminiscent of Gunstar Heroes. The music in this game is very enjoyable and fits the game perfectly.
Good music in an N64 game?
I know, it's hard to believe, isn't it? The control is what takes some time getting used to, as it controls unlike any other game out there. Almost every button is used and your hands will get a workout. Graphically, what can be said? The characters, enemies, monsters all look pretty good. The game has a nice color palette, but it's the N64, so it's not perfect.
That's an understatement.
Hey, everything has a fuzzy feel to it.
I never really got into this game, so I can't offer much of an opinion about it, though I must say that Treasure games are often quirky, but in a good way.
A great rail shooter for the N64 that was never released outside of Japan. It is available now on the Wii Shop channel, though.
Get bonus!
Here we have Sin and Punishment, star successor for the Wii. The first Sin and Punishment is a cult classic, and after many years of waiting and listening to the laments of fanboys, Treasure released this in 2010. This installment lives up to the first, as it's a difficult game and is full of non-stop action. The stages are decent length and boss battles are long, and bosses themselves are huge. And there's more great music that fits the action all the way.
Does this game use Waggle Controls? I hate waggling my controller around. I just want to relax and press buttons.
Well, Joe, there are now a myriad of ways to control the game. You can use the GameCube controller, the classic controller, the Wii Zapper controller shell, or the way I prefer to play with a Wii remote and nunchuck. This is the easiest way, as your Wii remote acts as a game reticle, making it 100 times easier to control compared to moving around the analog stick. There is a lot of dedication to the story in this game, but, I can't tell you anything about it, as I always just skip it and get back to the action.
I don't know why action games feel that they need a story.
I know, damn it, just let us play. Also, why is this game released on the Wii alone and not on the PS3 or Xbox 360? Could it be the motion control aspect of the game? It could have taken advantage of the latter system's graphics capabilities and made this game look really nice. I mean, it looks good on the Wii, but it could have looked so much better on the PS3.
It would have been awesome in HD. If they could get it to work with the N64 controller, then they could have made it work with today's highly advanced controllers.
And that's it for rail shooters, at least for now anyways.
Yeah, and we'll be back next week with maybe more guilty pleasures, maybe more underrated games, who knows?
Or maybe something entirely different. We will see you then.
You like my Saturn, Dave? I bought it at launch for only $400. It's so beautiful.
I do like that, Joe. It's mint complete in the box, and it even includes Virtua Fighter.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's awesome. And you know what? It's only $300 less than you spent on your $700 3DO.
Oh, come on, man. You spent $500 on your discounted 3DO.
Well, that is true. I did, but you know, I also spent an extra $80 on an extended warranty program.
Are you serious? You bought that?
I did. Yes,
Oh,
I was suckered into one of those one time. Anyways, how is your 3DO these days?
Oh, gee, I sold that like 15 years ago. How's yours?
Oh, well, that's a good move on the first part. And I also sold mine a long time ago, and I pray that it is sitting in the bottom of a Chinese river rotting right now.